If you could make your dog feel safer and more understood with one small change, would you want to know what it is? It's something so simple that you might overlook it, yet meaningful enough that your dog notices every single time. We spend years learning how to care for them, but sometimes the smallest habits are the ones that matter most. And understanding those habits can open a deeper kind of trust between you and your pup. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the quiet truth behind one of the most common ways we touch our dogs. And if you enjoy discovering these gentle insights, I'd love to have you stay connected with this channel. Chapter 1. How Dogs Perceive Head Petting. It's easy to forget just how enormous you look from your dog's point of view. When you tower over them with your hand coming down toward their head, their body often reacts before their mind can make sense of your intention. You've probably seen that tiny flinch, that slight hesitation, or the way their eyes flick upward, not out of fear of you, but of the shape your approach takes. To a dog, that looming motion echoes instinctive memories of larger creatures leaning over them, and their first impulse is to protect themselves. Some dogs learn to accept it, because it's what humans do, and they fold that discomfort into their understanding of us. But acceptance isn't the same as comfort. And when you look at them with this in mind, you start noticing that many of the moments you thought were signs of contentment were actually moments of quiet tolerance. That small gap between what you mean and what they feel becomes something worth paying attention to. Chapter 2. Early signs a dog is uncomfortable. Have you ever reached toward your dog and noticed their body pull away before you even touch them? That tiny retreat is their way of trying to tell you the moment doesn't feel right, even if they adore you. Sometimes it's as subtle as a shift of weight or a quiet step to the side, and other times it's a low, uncertain lean, as if they're trying to stay close to you while avoiding the thing that unsettles them. Their ears often speak before anything else does, folding back in a way that almost looks polite, even though it's really a soft request for space. And when they lick their lips or let out a sudden yawn, it isn't boredom. It's their body releasing tension they don't know how to express any other way. Then there's that unmistakable glance where the whites of their eyes show, the one people sometimes think looks cute, but actually means your dog is working hard to hold themselves together. And once you've seen all of these signals for what they are, you start realizing how often they've been trying to communicate long before things escalate. Chapter 3. Why Humans Commonly Pet Dogs on the Head. Most people believe they're showing affection in the simplest, most natural way when their hand goes straight for a dog's head. We do it without thinking, as if the gesture is woven into how we express care, because for humans, touch on the head or face often signals love, closeness, or comfort. It's what we do with children, with partners, with friends we trust. And somewhere along the way, we start assuming our dogs receive it in the same emotional language. The truth is, we reach for their head mostly because it's right there, easy to access, easy to tap, easy to pat. And the convenience makes it feel harmless. And since dogs are smaller, it becomes almost an automatic motion, a habit that slips in long before we consider how it feels from their vantage point. So we keep doing it, not out of disregard, but out of the quiet belief that our way of showing love must naturally make sense to them too. And that innocent assumption shapes far more of our daily interactions with them than we realize. Chapter 4. How to Properly Pet Your Own Dog. If you knew there was a gentler way to touch your dog that instantly made them feel safer, it would probably change the way your hand reaches for them. When you approach from the side instead of straight on, you can almost feel their body soften, as if you've given them just a little more control over the moment. Your hand comes into their world at a calmer angle, one that doesn't rise above their head like a shadow, and they notice that difference immediately. Starting at the shoulders allows them to stay grounded, and you can sense their reaction through the way their muscles either tense or melt under your fingers. When they lean into your touch, it's their quiet invitation to keep going, a kind of shared conversation that doesn't need words. And as your hand moves slowly down their spine, you're giving them the chance to show you where comfort lives in their body, instead of assuming you already know. The area just behind the ears becomes its own small reward once there's trust, a place only dogs who feel truly connected will offer without hesitation. Chapter 5. How to Safely Pet a Stranger's Dog. You know that moment when you see a dog you'd love to greet and your hand almost moves on its own? It's such a human impulse, born from excitement and warmth, but the dog standing in front of you doesn't know your intentions yet. To them, you're just a new presence, carrying unfamiliar scents, energy, and movement. and they need a second to decide how they feel about all of it. Asking the owner first might feel like a small formality, but it gives the dog a buffer, a chance to stay within the safety of someone they trust while they assess you. And when you offer your hand for them to sniff without touching, you're letting them step into the moment at their own pace, giving them the dignity of choice. If they lean in, if they close that tiny gap between nose and fingers, you'll feel the shift immediately. The quiet acceptance that says they're comfortable with you being part of their space. And staying with their shoulders keeps things steady and respectful, especially since a dog who doesn't know you is still learning whether your touch feels safe. Chapter 6. Preventing unwanted petting from strangers. It's surprising how often we assume our dogs will speak up for themselves when something feels uncomfortable. Most of the time, they won't. They'll stand there politely while a stranger reaches for them, even if every part of their body is asking for space. And because dogs try so hard to be good, the responsibility quietly shifts to you, even in moments that feel casual or harmless. Letting someone know your dog needs a certain kind of touch isn't rude. It's a small act of protection that your dog can't perform on their own. When you gently guide a stranger toward the shoulders, or simply say your dog prefers a different type of greeting, you create a moment where your dog can stay relaxed instead of bracing. And what's interesting is how often people appreciate it. They want the interaction to go well too, and they're usually grateful to be shown how to make your dog feel at ease. Over time, you start to see how much calmer your dog becomes when the people around them meet them with the same respect you do. Chapter 7. Areas to avoid when petting dogs. You've probably seen a dog stiffen the moment a hand drifts toward their tail, even if everything felt fine just a second earlier. It's one of those reactions that happens so quickly you almost miss it, but their body gives away the truth long before their face does. The tail may look playful or expressive, but to your dog it's a vulnerable extension of their spine, a place they instinctively guard even when they trust you completely. And the paws carry their own kind of sensitivity. Those small pads, those delicate joints, all the weight of their body resting on something they can't afford to have tampered with. When a hand closes around a paw without warning, their balance shifts, uncertainty rushes in, and they suddenly feel less steady in their own body. It's not defiance or shyness, it's the simple discomfort of being touched where they feel least secure, the places they reserve for true necessity rather than affection. And the more you notice these little signals, the more clearly you can see how much your dog relies on you to honor the parts of them that feel tender. Chapter 8. Common petting mistakes. You might think the sweetest moments with your dog are the ones where you wrap them in your arms, but that kind of closeness can feel very different from their side. A hug, a hand on their cheeks, or any gesture that limits their ability to move can stir a quiet tension in their body, even if they stay perfectly still. Dogs rarely protest outright. Instead, they hold themselves together in a polite stillness, hoping the moment will pass without them needing to pull away. And sometimes your affection continues longer than they're ready for, simply because they don't want to disappoint you by stepping back. When you pause every few seconds, you create gentle openings for them to choose whether they want more. And that choice means everything to a creature that values freedom of movement. It's in those pauses that you start seeing who your dog really is when they feel genuinely comfortable. The leaning in, the softening, the return for more. And once you witness that difference, it becomes almost impossible to go back to the old way of touching them without thinking twice. Moments like these remind you that understanding your dog isn't a destination. It's a slow, gentle shift in how you see them. And the fact that you're here, reflecting on their comfort and their needs, already strengthens the connection they trust you to protect. What stays with you is the feeling that the smallest changes in your touch or attention can open their world in ways you might not expect. When you meet them with that kind of quiet awareness, they relax into themselves and into you with a depth that's easy to miss but impossible to forget. And that's when the most beautiful habits begin to appear, the ones that only show up when a dog's life finally feels good. These signs are subtle, but they reveal so much about their joy. If you'd like to recognize them in your own dog, the next video will lead you there warmly.